My perspective on books and my literacy has changed throughout this course this semester because I thought I had a pretty good set of books for my classroom library. And the more that we read books, the more we learned about what types of books you should have in your classroom. I saw that I was very narrow-minded in what books I picked out. I didn't have very much variety. And so some of the books that now I would have in my classroom to show variety would be like All Around Us, that shows different traditions that are practiced throughout different families. And Jacob's Room to Choose, which just shows like a different way that a child might want to live their life. And the Barefoot Book of Earth Tales, and this book just shows a bunch of different cultures and different like fables and life lessons that you can learn from these books, from that book. And I would include these just to show like the different varieties of ways people live and cultures. I think this would help the students be able to relate and learn from these books. And then some of the ways that these books are great examples of quality text is that it's not just the words telling the story, the illustrations also tell the story. And some of the books that I read throughout the semester in this class that show this illustrations telling the story is The Girl Who Thought in Pictures and Rescue and Jessica. And the way that The Girl Who Thought in Pictures, the illustrations tell the story, is that on one of the pages it says that like when somebody would say the word fly, Temple would think of a bunch of images of flies. And so you can actually see her thinking about it here with the thought bubbles. You can see like she's thinking about the wings and the eyes and just how a fly looks in different variations. And this just helps you to like see the story as like she would see it, as the thought bubbles and different thoughts. And the way the illustrations tell the story in Rescue and Jessica is that the background really sets the mood. So, for example, on one of the pages, it's a very sad mood because Jessica's in the hospital and she's not feeling well. The mood is very dark and the background's all black and there's just not a lot going on the page. But then when she meets Rescue, her new service dog, it's very happy and bright pictures. You can see that on this page. And you can see there are like red and blue banners. And you know, it's very colorful. There's colors everywhere. Over here there's greens and everybody's smiling. You can just feel the happiness in the mood. And then the ways that I could share these books with my class is I would do a read aloud, and I'd be able to stop throughout the books and ask questions and have discussions and be able to point out like, oh, you see when she's sad, the pages are dark, and when she's happy, the pages are light. And with The Girl Who Thought in Pictures, I would also do a read aloud. And I could say, oh, when somebody says something, do you ever just have a picture pop into your head of what they're talking about? Or are you able, like, is that how you think? Are you more of like a picture thinker? And then some books that I think would help develop lifelong readers and writers are Brown Girl Dreaming and I Remember. And in Brown Girl Dreaming, I think this book would be really good to help create lifelong readers because it's really easy to get into the book and want to keep reading it. And I felt that as I went through the book, you could really get a good picture in your head of what was going on. Jacqueline Woodson did a really good job of using imagery to help you create that picture in your head. And for kids, once they get that picture, they want to keep going. They want to see the story continue. So if they can see it in their head, they're more apt to keep on reading the book. I think this could also help create lifelong writers too, because she uses many different ways of writing throughout the book. Some of her poems rhyme, some don't. They could be like, oh, I like this writing style, or I don't like that, and that can just help them to get their own idea of writing. That kind of goes along with why I Remember would be a great book, because this is a book filled of different poems by different authors. And so you can see, on this page, the poem is in simple standard stanzas, whereas in this book it's more of in this poem it's more of a paragraph. And so they could say, oh, I like being able to write a poem in stanzas, or I like being able to write in a paragraph, and that just would help them to continue exploring how they want to write. And the word choices throughout the book, they could choose like, oh, I like when this kind of imagery is used, or I don't like when that's used. And that would just help them to be lifelong learners. And I've really learned that throughout all these books, that there are many different ways for children to become readers and writers.